Have you ever walked into a room and completely forgotten why you were there? Or maybe you've had one of those moments where a friend's name just slips your mind, right when you're about to introduce them? If you nodded along, you're not alone. These little lapses happen to all of us, especially as we get older. But here's the good news. Our brains are far more adaptable than we often give them credit for. And one powerful way to support that adaptability? Mindfulness. Now, I know mindfulness might sound like one of those trendy buzzwords, something you hear tossed around in yoga studios or wellness podcasts. But trust me, this isn't fluff. There's real science behind how mindfulness can actually boost your brain's health and help keep your cognitive function sharp as a tack. And even better, you don't have to be a meditation guru to start seeing the benefits. In this video series, we're going to explore practical, down-to-earth mindfulness techniques that can genuinely make a difference in your memory, attention, mental clarity, and even emotional well-being. Whether you're in your 50s, 60s, or well beyond, it's never too late to give your brain a little extra love. So stick with me. We'll talk about the science, the stories, and most importantly, how to actually make these habits part of your daily life. Before we keep going, I'd love your help with something. If you're enjoying this video so far, comment Y below. If not, comment N. It helps me know what's working and what to improve. And don't forget to hit subscribe if you haven't yet. Now let's dive deeper. Let's start with something simple but incredibly powerful: mindful breathing. I know it sounds basic, but here's what's fascinating. When you focus your attention on your breath, even for just a few minutes a day, you're actually training your brain to become better at focusing in general. And science backs this up. A study from Harvard University found that mindfulness meditation, particularly focused on breath awareness, can increase the density of gray matter in the hippocampus, the part of the brain responsible for learning and memory. Think about that for a second. Just by paying attention to your breathing, you're helping grow the very part of your brain that stores and processes memory. And you don't need to sit cross-legged on a cushion for an hour. Even 5 minutes in the morning, sitting on the edge of your bed, taking slow breaths in and out, can begin to make a difference. I have a friend, Susan, who's in her early 70s. She started doing this every morning after her coffee, just 5 minutes before she opened her email. And after a few weeks, she told me she noticed she wasn't forgetting little tasks as often. She felt clearer, more grounded. Not bad for something that costs nothing and takes almost no time, right? Another simple but life-changing technique is single tasking with mindfulness. Our brains are not designed for multitasking, even though we all try to do it. You might think you're saving time by folding laundry while talking on the phone and keeping an eye on the TV, but in reality, you're stretching your attention thin and weakening your brain's ability to concentrate. When you commit to doing just one thing at a time, and doing it with full awareness, you start to rebuild those focus muscles. Let's say you're washing the dishes. Instead of letting your mind race to your to-do list or tomorrow's errands, you focus on the feel of the water, the sound of the clinking plates, the rhythm of your hands. This kind of presence doesn't just feel calming. It literally strengthens the brain's neural connections related to attention and self-regulation. There was an eye-opening study conducted at the University of Wisconsin, Madison, where researchers compared the brains of long-term mindfulness practitioners with those who had no mindfulness training. They found that the mindfulness group had increased activity in the anterior cingulate cortex, an area involved in attention control. The kicker? Some of these improvements were seen after just 8 weeks of practice. It's like going to the gym, but for your brain. You don't need to lift heavy weights, just showing up consistently makes a difference. But let's be honest. It's not always easy. Our minds are noisy. We worry, plan, remember, rehearse. And when you sit down to breathe or slow down to do just one task, suddenly every thought you've ever had comes flooding in. That's normal. It doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. The whole point of mindfulness is not to clear your mind. It's to become aware of it. Imagine your thoughts like cars passing by on a road. Mindfulness is simply sitting on the sidewalk, watching them go by, without running into traffic. You see a worry? There goes that thought. You notice a memory? Ah, there's another one. No judgment, no chasing, just noticing. And over time, with practice, you start to realize something powerful. You are not your thoughts. You're the observer. That's where the cognitive magic starts to happen, when you create that little space between stimulus and response. That space gives you more clarity, more patience, and yes, sharper thinking. I once met a retired teacher who shared how mindfulness helped her during a rough patch in her life. She was dealing with grief, and it felt like her thoughts were spiraling constantly. But through daily mindfulness practice, sometimes just sitting by her window with a cup of tea and watching the trees, she felt a shift. Her mind became quieter. Her focus came back, and most importantly, she found moments of peace. So, if you're wondering whether mindfulness is too simple to make a real difference, I invite you to try it. Not for a month, not even for a week, just for today. Take 5 minutes to breathe. Do one task with full presence. And notice how it feels. Because the truth is, enhancing your cognitive function doesn't always require a big leap. Sometimes it starts with a breath. In the next part, we'll dive into how mindfulness can not only help you focus, but also protect your brain from the effects of stress and aging. There's a lot more to explore, including how gratitude and mindful movement can play a role too. So stick with me, because the journey's just getting started. Before we begin, I want to make one thing clear. This video is for informational purposes only and is based on publicly available research. Everyone's health is different, so always consult your doctor or a qualified healthcare provider before making any changes to your lifestyle, diet, or exercise routine. Scientific knowledge is always evolving, and what works for one person may not work for another. Now let's continue right where we left off, because this next piece is crucial. Stress. It's something we all deal with, whether we're juggling responsibilities, worrying about loved ones, or just facing the everyday changes that come with aging. And while a little stress can sometimes be helpful, like that burst of focus before a big event, chronic stress, that's a different story. Chronic stress floods the brain with cortisol, and over time, this hormone can wear down important parts of the brain, especially the prefrontal cortex and the hippocampus. These are the very areas responsible for memory, learning, and decision-making. But here's the good news. Mindfulness helps regulate this stress response. It acts like a buffer, protecting the brain from being overwhelmed. There was a groundbreaking study published in the journal Psychosomatic Medicine, where participants who practiced mindfulness for just 8 weeks had significantly lower levels of cortisol compared to those who didn't. That's right, 8 weeks of daily mindfulness practice actually changed how their bodies handled stress. And it's not just about lowering stress. Mindfulness helps shift how we relate to stress. Think about it. You can't always eliminate what's stressing you out, but you can change how you respond to it. That's empowering. I remember talking with an older gentleman named Mark, who had just retired. Retirement sounds relaxing, right? But for him, it brought unexpected anxiety. Without the structure of his job, his days felt unanchored. He started practicing mindfulness in the mornings, not elaborate meditation sessions, just 5 minutes sitting quietly, setting an intention for the day. He told me that over time, he began feeling more in control, more capable of handling the ups and downs. It's like my brain stopped running in circles, he said. I feel like I can steer again. That sense of mental clarity is one of the biggest benefits of mindfulness. When the mind isn't clouded by stress or distractions, cognitive function improves naturally. You make decisions more calmly. You remember names, appointments, even where you left your glasses. It's not magic. It's your brain working the way it's supposed to. Now let's talk about a beautiful and often overlooked form of mindfulness, gratitude. I know, it may not seem directly related to cognitive function at first, but studies show that practicing gratitude can actually lead to improvements in mental focus, mood regulation, and even sleep quality, all of which support brain health. In one study from the University of California, participants who wrote down 3 things they were grateful for each day showed better emotional resilience and cognitive performance over time. Gratitude rewires the brain to focus on the positive, which reduces stress and improves overall mental clarity. It's like shining a flashlight on what's working instead of what's not, and that shift can make all the difference. Try this tonight. Before bed, jot down 3 things you appreciated about your day. They don't have to be big. Maybe it's the way your tea tasted, a phone call from a friend, or the simple fact that you got outside for some fresh air. That small act doesn't just end the day on a good note. It trains your mind to notice and retain more positive details. And when your brain feels good, it performs better. Speaking of getting outside, another fantastic mindfulness tool is mindful walking. You don't have to sit still to be mindful. In fact, many people find it easier to focus when they're moving. Mindful walking involves paying attention to each step, the way your foot lifts, moves, and touches the ground. You notice the rhythm of your walk, the sounds around you, the feel of the air on your skin. This isn't power walking or walking while scrolling your phone. It's about tuning in, not zoning out. Research from the National Institutes of Health found that even short periods of mindful movement, like walking meditations, can lead to improvements in attention, mood, and memory recall. It's one more way to engage the body while sharpening the mind. And if you want to take it up a notch, try walking in nature. Nature itself is a powerful cognitive booster. The Japanese practice of forest bathing, called Shinrin-yoku, is based on this very idea. Spending time among trees and greenery has been shown to reduce stress, lower blood pressure, and improve mood, all of which directly benefit brain health. I had a neighbor, Clara, in her late 60s who started a simple routine, a 15-minute mindful walk through her neighborhood park every morning. No phone, no distractions, just walking and observing. She said it became her favorite part of the day. "I feel like I'm giving my brain a morning stretch," she laughed. And she's right. That's exactly what it is. Let's not forget how mindfulness impacts sleep. When the mind is overactive, sleep suffers, and poor sleep takes a toll on cognition fast. But mindfulness helps quiet the mental chatter. One study published in JAMA Internal Medicine showed that older adults who practiced mindfulness-based stress reduction slept better and felt less fatigued during the day. One technique you might try is a body scan before bed. You lie down, close your eyes, and slowly bring your attention to each part of your body, from your toes to your head, just noticing how each area feels. Not judging, not trying to fix anything, just bringing awareness. This practice gently shifts your focus from worries to the present moment, calming the nervous system and setting the stage for restful sleep. Better sleep means better memory consolidation and sharper thinking the next day. All of these small mindfulness practices, breathing, walking, gratitude, and body awareness, add up. They're gentle, they're accessible, and when practiced consistently, they begin to transform how your brain functions, especially as you age. You don't need to overhaul your life. Just a few mindful minutes a day can have ripple effects. Your mind becomes clearer, your focus sharper, your emotions more balanced. In the next section, we're going to explore how to stay consistent with mindfulness, even when life gets busy or you feel discouraged. We'll also talk about common mindset blocks and how to overcome them so you can keep making progress. If you've ever struggled with staying motivated or wondered if mindfulness really works, the next part is especially for you. Now, if you've ever tried to build a new habit, whether it's meditating, walking more, or simply slowing down your breathing, you've probably hit a wall at some point. That moment when your motivation slips, or life gets hectic, or you think, is this even doing anything? You're not alone. In fact, that's probably the most common roadblock people hit when practicing mindfulness. But here's the thing, mindfulness isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up. Even if you forget to meditate for a few days, or your mind wanders 100 times during a breathing exercise, that doesn't mean you failed. In fact, recognizing that your mind has wandered and gently bringing it back is the practice. That's where the growth happens. There's a quote I love by Sharon Salzberg, a well-known mindfulness teacher. Mindfulness isn't difficult. We just need to remember to do it. And that's the heart of it. Creating little reminders for yourself, making it part of your daily rhythm, is how mindfulness becomes second nature. Let me tell you about my friend Denise. She's 72, full of energy, but started noticing she'd forget names or where she left her keys. It worried her. So, she tried a few mindfulness apps but found the sessions too long. What worked for her was something beautifully simple. Every time she poured herself a cup of tea, she paused to take 3 slow, deep breaths before the first sip. Just 3 breaths. That tiny habit helped anchor her in the present. Over time, Denise noticed she felt calmer, less scattered, and she said she was remembering more, little details, conversations, things that used to slip her mind. It wasn't a drastic change overnight, But that small, mindful pause, done consistently, shifted her mental state in a powerful way. That's a great reminder that mindfulness doesn't have to look like sitting cross-legged on a cushion for an hour. It can be built into what you already do. Washing the dishes, brushing your teeth, taking a walk, waiting in line at the store. These moments are perfect for checking in with your breath, your senses, and your surroundings. Let's talk about another technique that's often overlooked, but incredibly powerful: mindful listening. In today's fast-paced world, we often listen to respond, not to truly hear. But practicing deep, mindful listening, especially in conversations with loved ones, activates the prefrontal cortex and strengthens attention and empathy. The next time you're talking with someone, try this. Put down your phone or whatever's in your hands, make eye contact, and really tune in. Notice their words, tone, and body language. Resist the urge to interrupt or rehearse your response in your head. Just be present. Not only does this improve your brain's ability to focus, but it also deepens your relationships, and that, in turn, enhances emotional and cognitive well-being. Social connection is a critical piece of cognitive health. Studies from Harvard's Long-Term Adult Development Project have shown that people who maintain strong, meaningful relationships experience slower cognitive decline as they age. And here's the twist: when you practice mindful listening, you often receive the same in return. It creates a ripple effect of presence and connection. Of course, one of the biggest challenges people face with mindfulness is the inner voice that says, "I'm just not good at this." Maybe you've felt that too. Your mind wanders, you get restless, and you wonder if you're doing it wrong. But let me reassure you, there's no wrong way to be mindful. There's only your way. The key is compassion, especially toward yourself. The moment you notice you're judging your practice, that's actually a moment of mindfulness. It means you're aware. And that's huge. A neuroscientist named Dr. Judson Brewer has done fascinating research on how mindfulness affects the brain's default mode network. That's the area involved in self-referential thoughts, like worrying, ruminating, or replaying old conversations. When people practice mindfulness, activity in this network quiets down. That means less mental noise, more peace, and more room for clear thinking. And it doesn't take hours of practice to get results. In one of his studies, participants who practiced just 10 minutes of mindful breathing per day reported less anxiety and more focus after only 2 weeks. 10 minutes. So if you're feeling stuck or discouraged, remember, it's okay to start small. Maybe today it's 3 mindful breaths. Tomorrow, maybe 5 minutes of quiet. Eventually, those small wins add up, and your brain begins to shift in a way that supports better memory, clearer focus, and even more creativity. Another way to stay on track: community. Mindfulness doesn't have to be a solo journey. Whether it's a local meditation group, a book club focused on wellness, or even an online community, being around others who are practicing can offer motivation and encouragement. I once joined a mindfulness challenge with a group of friends. We each committed to 5 minutes a day for 30 days and checked in with each other through texts. Some days we didn't feel like doing it, but the gentle support from others kept us going. By the end, we all agreed our minds felt lighter, more focused. And the group bond? Stronger than ever. Don't underestimate the power of shared growth. It keeps you accountable, and it makes the journey feel less lonely. And finally, let's touch on something deeply human: forgiveness. Whether it's forgiving others or yourself, carrying resentment is a heavy load for the brain. It drains energy and clutters your thoughts. Mindfulness can help you process those emotions gently and let go. You can start by noticing how resentment feels in your body. Is your jaw tense? Shoulders tight? Breath shallow? Then breathe into that space. Offer yourself compassion. You don't have to rush the process. Just being willing to explore it mindfully is enough. Letting go of mental clutter, old regrets, grudges, harsh self-talk, is one of the most liberating things you can do for your cognitive health. It frees up space in your mind for clarity, focus, and joy. So, if you've been feeling like your mind is too busy, or you're too old to start something new, let this be a gentle nudge. It's never too late. Your brain is still capable of learning, healing, and growing. Mindfulness isn't about becoming someone else. It's about becoming more you. More present. More alive. Coming up next, we'll wrap everything together. We'll talk about simple takeaways you can apply today, reinforce the key ideas, and leave you with one last bit of science-backed inspiration that just might change the way you see your own potential. Let's finish strong, because this journey is just getting started. If you've made it this far, take a moment to pause and appreciate yourself. Seriously, just for being here, for being curious about your mind and your well-being, you've already taken a powerful step forward. So many people go through life on autopilot, never stopping to ask, how can I feel more alive? How can I keep my brain sharp and my heart open? But you did, and that matters. So let's take a moment to reflect on what we've explored together. We began by looking at how mindfulness can actually change your brain, boosting memory, attention, and emotional regulation. And we broke down what mindfulness really means, not a perfect state of Zen, but a simple, ongoing practice of paying attention to the present moment with kindness. We talked about powerful techniques like mindful breathing, body scans, and mindful movement, each one a doorway to greater clarity and calm. You learned how just a few minutes a day can reduce stress, enhance focus, and even improve sleep. Then we explored ways to overcome challenges, those moments when doubt creeps in or life gets busy. We talked about building small, repeatable habits like pausing before a sip of tea or taking 3 deep breaths before turning on the TV. We looked at mindful listening, forgiveness, and the power of community. And through it all, one truth kept shining through. Mindfulness isn't about fixing yourself. It's about finding yourself right here in this moment. Now, if you're wondering, what should I actually do next? Here's where we make it simple. Pick just one practice to begin with. Maybe it's 5 minutes of quiet breathing in the morning, or a body scan before bed, or slowing down while washing the dishes. Whatever it is, anchor it to something you already do every day. That's the magic of habit formation. It's not about adding something new to your to-do list. It's about layering intention onto what's already there. And remember, it's not about duration, it's about consistency. 5 minutes every day is more powerful than an hour once a week. Why? Because your brain thrives on repetition. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself, isn't triggered by big, dramatic efforts. It's shaped by steady, repeated actions. There's a beautiful study from UCLA that found people who meditated regularly had more gray matter in areas of the brain linked to memory, learning, and emotion regulation. The most encouraging part, these weren't monks or full-time meditators. They were regular people like you and me, committing to simple daily practices. And if science alone doesn't move you, let me share a story. A viewer named James, he's 67, wrote in after trying one of our guided mindfulness sessions. He had struggled with brain fog and low energy for years. After just 2 weeks of 10-minute daily breathing sessions, he noticed something surprising. He was remembering details of conversations better. He felt more patient, more grounded. It's like I cleared out the mental cobwebs, he told me. What made the difference for James wasn't the complexity of the practice. It was the consistency and his willingness to show up for himself each day. That's what I hope for you too. Not perfection, just presence. Just a willingness to meet yourself, moment by moment, with curiosity and care. So wherever you are in life, whether you're in your 50s, 60s, 70s, or beyond, know this, your brain is still incredibly capable. You can still grow. You can still change. You can still thrive. And mindfulness is one of the most accessible, effective tools to help you do just that. Even better, it costs nothing. No fancy equipment, no prescriptions, just your breath, your attention, and a little time. And I get it, some days it'll be easier than others. That's okay. On tough days, your practice might look like simply sitting quietly for 1 minute, or putting your hand over your heart and reminding yourself, I'm doing the best I can. That counts. That is mindfulness. Because this isn't just about boosting cognitive function. It's about creating a life with more depth, more awareness, and more joy. So, if you're still wondering whether mindfulness is worth trying, let me leave you with one final insight from Harvard neuroscientist Dr. Sarah Lazar. She studied the brains of long-term meditators and found that even older adults, people in their 60s and 70s, had younger-looking brains in key areas compared to non-meditators. Their prefrontal cortexes, which typically shrink with age, were thicker, more resilient. That's proof that mindfulness doesn't just help you feel better, It helps you stay sharper as you age. And that's the real gift here. Not just living longer, but living better. With clarity, with compassion, with purpose. We'd really love to hear from you. If you have any suggestions for future topics or questions you want answered, write to us in the comments below. We're here to help, and your input could inspire our next video. And if you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss out on more practical tips for healthy aging. Here's to living your best life at any age. Until next time, take a deep breath and be kind to yourself. You're doing beautifully.